Our coaching interviews this week are sponsored by our friends at Euless Rugby Tackling, and we've got quite a coaching interview today. Joining us now on the phone line is the head coach of the Byron Nelson Bobcats. We are joined by Coach Travis Pride. Coach, how are you?
I'm great. Good morning. Good afternoon to you all.
How are things in beautiful Trophy Club?
Well, it's a beautiful day. I'm up here about to go see my kid get a little award over at the little elementary school, and we got a win under our belt. So I guess life couldn't get better as of today.
There is actually, I'll talk to you off air about this, but there's a very real possibility you're going to where my wife works. But we'll get into that at another time. Let's go back to last Friday night. And I will be honest with you, and I think I speak for almost all of the people who cover Texas high school football. Your game was nowhere near our radar. Going into the game, you guys are 0-5, and here's this powerful program in Euless Trinity that's angry maybe with their loss to South Lake Carroll. They're still state ranked. What were you telling your kids before this game?
Well, there's kind of coach talk, and then there's whatever. From a coach's perspective, you're gonna try to get your kids ready and prepared to win. Every Friday, I told the kids, I said there's a reason they play the games, because the winner's never predetermined. I said if the winner was predetermined, then they'd probably cancel the ball game. So that's kind of the mindset from a coach's standpoint. Obviously, there were some some real factors that Trinity's a big, physical, extremely well-coached football team. So I wouldn't have probably bet my mortgage on it, but I was certainly going to go out there and try to get our kids prepared to play, the best game of their season so far and see if we could squeak out a win.
And squeak out a win you guys do. You guys come out with a 21-20 win in overtime. And I want to ask you about overtime. Trinity gets the ball first. They score on just 2 plays, a 22-yard touchdown run. They go for 2 and they miss it. At that point, you guys take just 2 plays as well. Your outstanding Jordan Joyner runs for the touchdown run, and then Tanner Keogh lines up for the point after attempt. Is that the tensest extra point you have ever been a part of?
Oh, that was certainly pretty tense. We had actually last year, we sometimes you take when you got a good kicker. Like I've had in the last couple of years at Mansfield Summit, we had one of the best, I think, in the state, and he never ever missed one. But we ended up losing to Longview due to a missed extra point. I have great confidence in Keogh, our kicker, our kicking coach, Coach Lee. They do a tremendous job. However, things can always go awry. So I was holding my breath pretty much from the second half on. It was nice to take a breath after that all happened.
I have to imagine you are just pleased as punch with how your defense played. You guys forced 3 turnovers. You guys, this game was scoreless at halftime. From a defensive standpoint, is this? It's safe to say this is the best you guys have played.
Yes, yeah, and there's some of it. We don't want to. We should have, as coaches, had our team prepared to, win in August. But sometimes it takes a little bit of time to put you in your system and get the kids to understand it to the degree where they're not thinking, they're just playing. But, this coordinator's been with me a handful of years as a position coach, and I just elevated him to coordinator. His name's Zach Woodward. And I certainly had great confidence and faith in him when I hired him. But he put in a great, we had a great scheme in line for him. And at the end of the day, it's still always about the kids. They gotta, we can put them in the right place, but they gotta perform and make plays. And the kids, I thought, played extremely well. We're not intimidated, which was a slight concern of mine prior to the game. But the kids came out and played with great passion and energy, and it was a lot of fun to watch them.
We're talking with Travis Pride, the head coach of the Byron Nelson Bobcats here on DCTF Live Interview, sponsored by our friends at Euless Rugby Tackling. Get involved in the conversation at hashtag DCTF Live. Coach, if you look back, I think that I made the point before you came on. I think 1-5 is a very, very misleading record for you, because if you look at your schedule, an overtime loss to an unbeaten Saxe team, a loss to an unbeaten San Angelo Central team, a loss to an unbeaten Justin Northwest team up the road from y'all, and then close losses to good Hebron teams, good Flower Mound team, and now a win over Euless Trinity. Do you feel like I do that 1-5 is maybe not indicative of how well you've played?
Yes, and we sometimes when you're 0-5, you try to find some moral victories out there. So we've certainly discussed that as a coaching staff. It's we had that non-diff, and then to top it off, we scrimmaged Aledo to start off our season. So we went from Aledo to Saxe to San Angelo. So I was thinking after all that, I was like, holy moly, I'm not sure I put ourselves in a great position. However, Coach Polk's the one that made the all that schedule, so I'll blame it all on him. But
yeah.
But we've always felt, we're a player or two away, and I think some coaches can go through a whole season and keep saying that. So our big objective was to, try to minimize that. Quit saying we're a play away because there's just so many little missed opportunities. And at some point in time, we felt things would kind of come together, and they certainly did Friday. So now the big test is can we continue to put it together, or were you a one-hit wonder? Or do you got something more in the tank? So that was a challenge for the coaching staff and the kids approaching the Louisville game this week.
You mentioned that because now all of a sudden you guys you get a key district win over a team that I don't think a lot of people had you guys beating, and now you guys are right back in the thick of the district race. What was your message after? What's been your message since that game? What's been your message early this week, getting your kids prepared for what all of a sudden is a very big game against Louisville?
Well, I wanted to make sure that they had an opportunity to enjoy that. Sometimes in this business we get so set on the next thing that you don't stop and take time to, smell the flowers per se. So we, a lot of coaches out there, we have 24-hour rule. I wanted them to soak it in, enjoy it all really pretty much through the weekend. And then the challenge was for them to say, hey, we're back in the playoff races, which where we wanted to be initially. And a lot of people out there are still skeptic about your abilities. I said, so on Monday, as soon as we had an early morning practice, because we had no school for Columbus Day, we got out there bright and early, and I asked them what they're going to do with their opportunity. And so that, it did give us a boost of confidence. It kind of establishes that we certainly can play with the big boys, which is where we want to be. We want to be in a position that we're going to beat all the big boys on a day in and day out basis. But you have to start somewhere. So I think the kids are ready to go and up for the challenge, and it'll certainly make this week of preparation go with a little more enthusiasm than maybe previously.
You're in your first year there at Byron Nelson, taking over for Brian Polk, who left to go be the assistant athletic director for the UIL. You leave what I think doing a great job at Mansfield Summit and a squad there that you've helped to build into a perennial power. I guess my two questions are, why the move to Byron Nelson? What was so appealing to that? And secondly, what have you seen in your first few months on the job that have maybe made you excited for the future?
Well, in my research and preparation to come up here and look into this position was it's difficult to find those one-horse town jobs anymore, where it's just all about that community, all about that school. So in the district down there, Mansfield district, that's a great district, wonderful coaches, wonderful administration. There's nothing that to pinpoint that is even slightly concerning down there. But you I think over time you've lost a sense of community down there, because Mansfield Summit was not even in Mansfield. It was part of Arlington, so it was kind of a no identity school to a degree, although we had certainly great identity upon the campus alone. But I've been kind of seeking. It's always fun as a coach to go to that place where the community is so fired up and excited. I looked at similar. I've lived in this area prior, when I was coaching assistant coach at Southlake, and I said, Argyle's very successful, and they got a similar type of clientele as us. Southlake's just barely across the road there. So I thought, we're kind of east of 35 is where the other Northwest schools are on the west side, and Roanoke and Trophy Club really primarily feed. We pull in from a little bit of other stuff, but those really are so. The little peewee teams are Bobcat. The middle schools are all Bobcat. So there's a lot of encouragement, excitement, and we had a big parade last week for homecoming. We drove around through the community, and there's just a million little Bobcats running around. So I guess over time that was my ultimate decision to come up here, and I think the future is going to be extremely bright for us, and this helps to kind of kickstart it.
It certainly does. I can imagine that the excitement is only growing out there in the Trophy Club Roanoke area. He is Coach Travis Pride, the head coach of the Byron Nelson Bobcats. Coach, appreciate your time. Again, congratulations on your big win, and good luck this week against Louisville and in the future.
I appreciate it. Thank you, guys. Have a great day.